It's spring on the Canadian prairies, and there's new life everywhere. Even our turtle relatives are waking up for a new season. As I start to think about planting my first garden, I take a hard look at my backyard, and well, it's an eyesore. I have to admit I'm feeling a bit apprehensive about planting my first garden. Where do I start? Because I have no idea what to do first, I call upon Audrey Logan, who has been gardening for most of her life, to give me a hand. Hey, Audrey. Come on in.
Hi.
Hey, how are you?
Not too badly, and yourself?
Good,
Nice
good.
sunny
Welcome to my garden, or future garden.
Future garden,
yeah,
yes.
Come on in. Take a look. We're having the expert here examine my backyard. So as we can see, nothing has been done to my backyard. This is the way it's been since last fall. Do you think this is enough space, or what's your initial assessment of my backyard?
The initial assessment has got great potential. There's a lot can be grown in a small space.
Okay.
A lot. And that's how traditionally they did things too, was in a small enough area that they could plant everything where the plants help each other. And they get a great harvest from a small enough area that anyone can do it.
So I've actually never gardened before. I've never actually planted something. So what would be the first step to basically, what do I do, Audrey?
First step, checking your soil.
Okay.
Because
you can buy a soil testing kit to assess your soil and see if it's lacking any nutrients. If it is, you should add compost, and we'll have more on this later.
But your vegetable type plants need good soil. They need nice, nutrient rich. Usually what I do is I poke the soil, give it a good squeeze, and if I can give it a poke and it breaks apart easily, then it's good. Usually it has equal amounts of mixture. Sometimes when it's a little bit more clayey, you want to add more leaves, more natural things to your soil to help amend that. Helps keep in moisture and feeds your worms. And your worms do all your work during the winter time to keep your soil nice and loose, because they come up and feed off your dead leaves. You don't have to know everything. So people thinking that they have to know everything, you don't. Simple basic thing, don't put the seeds in too deep. Keep the mulch on, which keeps your moisture levels, and it's really not that hard.
So Audrey also recommends to put down a layer of mulch before we plant. Mulch is ground cover such as old leaves, hay, or cedar chips. Mulch keeps the soil from drying out and discourages weeds from growing. Audrey says it will be easy to find bags of discarded leaves from people doing spring cleanup. So off we go in search of mulch. Hey, who needs a gardening store? We're going treasure hunting. No treasures here. On another show? Yeah.
No treasures here.
Hey, all right. Straw, just what we need. Gold value. The big day has finally arrived. We're actually going to put seeds in the ground today. I spoke to an elder who collects traditional medicines, and his advice was to say a prayer before planting. So that's what I do. He said that in the old days, life was much harder than it was today, so our ancestors always prayed for guidance before embarking on life-sustaining activities. Hey, Audrey.
Good morning, Coleen. How are you this morning? What you up to?
I'm doing well, thanks. I'm getting ready to plant. A traditional teaching that continues to be handed down says that it's time to plant corn when emerging oak leaves are the size of a squirrel's ear.
Now we get to plant the corn.
While the three sisters, corn, beans, and squash, are most often planted together, the planting techniques differ from region to region, nation to nation, and even between families. For example, the Hidatsa people are known to plant sunflowers, corn, beans, and squash in separate hills in the same patch. In contrast, the Iroquois mounds were about 1 meter wide and 1 meter apart, with corn, beans, and squash planted in one mound, with the bean seeds planted on the slopes. Hills and mounds, like raised beds, warm the soil quickly in the spring and provide improved drainage. In the dry desert conditions of the American Southwest, the Zuni people plant in waffle gardens, where the sides of rectangles of various sizes catch and conserve limited rainfall. So as we can see, our ancestors were ingenious at adapting and making the most out of their climates. Back in my yard, we're planting in a circular mound, 3 corn seeds in each hole.
So then that's all you need to do is having the three areas. You'll plant your beans in between and around. The beans will climb up the corn. This way each plant helps each other in the growing process.
We get the corn done, and I'm told to soak the blue corn seeds overnight in water and put the seeds in the soil the next day. So that's what I do. So Audrey, you brought something special along with you.
This is my great-grandmother's digging stick. And going in, since the soil is already soft, turns like that. Now see how it already made it nice and soft? Now of course they'd have other antler pieces that would have a wider base here, and that would actually act like a scoop.
So how far should you dig down if you were doing this? We're now going to plant Jerusalem artichokes. These plants were first cultivated by our ancestors, who called them sunroots, long before the arrival of the Europeans. The tubers were an important source of food, high in iron, and they also contained fiber and B vitamins. And this was a very important source of food.
Because it grew during the winter time. This is an amazing plant where the top grows during the summertime, gets a nice flower in that, but then in the fall, when the top dies, the bottom part comes alive and literally will form tubers during the winter. I've dug them up in successive months and seen each one have more tubers and more tubers, to where I've dug them up in March, in December, January, each month, and had more. This way you can make your row of sunflowers. But this was a staple that I knew was in the ground every year.
And this grew all throughout the prairies?
All throughout North America. All the way down to the southern states. So we just put it in that way, and you'll see where the roots are there. And just cover it up, tamper down a little bit, and that's done. And you'll see the lettuce seed is very small. Broadcast seeding, which is basically going like this. And you can kind of see where they're falling, right? And then you just go like that. And the seed will fall right into where you were. You can also use the stick, and if you can see any, you just push them in. Push them in lightly, because lettuce seed does not need to go deep. And because everything is so interconnected, right down from the lowly worm right on up to us. Without the worm, we can't get our gardens growing, because they eat all the dead stuff. Everything is interconnected. And by us being disconnected from it, it is no wonder we disconnect from ourselves and our own communities. But once you get that reconnection back to the earth and to everything around you, you start noticing things that you never noticed before.